calling for water. And Napoleon, who was dying for water, so they say, on the battlefield of Waterloo, the British gave him horse urine to drink. That's how mad they were at the guy. Yeah, at the end of the thing, he was captured. They beat him once and had to beat him again. They were not too happy about it. Prabhupada says on a tape that all through Europe, parents would scare their children into obeying by telling them, Napoleon is coming for you. Prabhupada says it on a tape. And Prabhupada gives that famous lecture when he was speaking in Paris, that the Ark of Triumph is there, built by Napoleon after his conquest of somewhere. So Prabhupada says the Ark is there, but where is Napoleon? Nobody knows. So, and not having a skilled mridanga player or harmonium player, well, we know where they are, but they're not here. I'm sure they're serving Krishna nicely. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. It's good if you sing it the way I sing it. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Balaba Girivanadari. Gopijana Balaba Girivanadari. Jasodanandana Brajanaranjana. Jasodanandana Brajanaranjana. Jamunatiravanachari. Jamunatiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Balaba Girivanadari. Jasodanandana Brajanaranjana. Jamunatiravanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Boom. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna. Boom. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Pedi Bhajakacharya Satadashish His Divine Grace Abhay Charan Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Jagaguru Srila Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Koda Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Nam Chai Shri Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem Shri Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Go Bhakta Vrinda Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki. Vrindavan Dham Ki. Mathura Ki, Dwarka Dham Ki, Navadi Dham Ki, Jagannathpuri Dham Ki, Jamuna Mai Ki, Ganga Mai Ki, Tulsi Maharani Ki, Bhakta Devi Ki, Sambhita Bhakta Vinda Ki, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Shri Shri Radha Giridhari Ki, Shri Krishna Sankirtana Jaga Ki, Gopremanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the divine lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. When I said sing Jai Radha Madhava like I sing, it doesn't mean always. You sing whatever way you like. But when someone's leading, you should follow the style of the person who's leading. Otherwise, no. I'm just saying otherwise it's just a discordant note. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Krishna Swadamo Pagate Dhammagana Dibi Saha Kalal Nasa Dashomesha Parana Ko Nadodata Narayana Namaskritcha Naram Jaivam Narotama Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat. The Bhagavatam is Brinda's son. It is arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his abode, accompanied with knowledge, religion, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of the age of Kali shall get light out of this Purana. Before beginning our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should first offer our respects to the personality of God in Narayan, the Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, the goddess of learning, Mother Saraswati, the author Srila Vyasadeva, and my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada. So we are on text 17, chapter 9, canto 7, and what is happening? What is the setting? What is the scene? Yes, Dravida Prabhu.
Yes, Prahlad Maharaj is offering his prayers.
No one else has been success. The demon, Hiranyakasipu, Asura, has been bifurcated. The brief surgical operation, which the patient did not survive. Of course, he was revived. That's another story. And so everyone else, big personalities, powerful, have tried to pacify Lord Nrsingadev, who, when he was roaring, the wives of the Asuras had miscarriage. As you can imagine, the sound reverberating throughout the universe, and everyone's given a shot at it, and Lord Nrsingadev is still seething with transcendental anger. So they pushed forward little 5-year-old Prahlad, and he's folding his hands, and he's not asking for anything material. He's not thanking for giving me back my position. He says, I'm not a businessman. So it's very, very powerful. All right. So, Yasmat Priya Priya Viyoga Samyoga Janma Shokagnina Sakala Yonishu Dayamana Dukau Sadam Tad Api Dukam Atad Diyaham Bhuman Brahmami Vada Me Tava Dasya Yogam Yasmat Priya Priya Viyoga Samyoga Janma Shokagnina Sakalayonishu Dayamana Dukau Sadam Tarapi Dukam Atadiyaham Bhuman Brahmame Vadame Tavadasya Yogam Yasmat Priya Priya Viyoga Samyoga Janma Shokagnina Sakala Yonishu Dayamana Dukau Sadam Tarapi Dukam Atadiyaham Bhuman Brahmami Vadame Tavadasya Yogam Yasmat priya priya viyoga samyoga janma. Shokagnina sakalayo nishudayamana. Dukausadam tarapi dukamatadhyamam. Bhuman brahmami varame tavadasya yogam. Sokagnisukhayo nishadayamana. Alrighty. Yasmat, because of which, because of existing in the material world, priya, pleasing, apriya, not pleasing, viyoga, by separation, samyoga, and combination, janma, where birth, whose birth, sorry, shoka agnina, by the fire of lamentation, shakalayo nishu, in any type of body, dayamana, being burned, duga ausadham, remedial measures for miserable life. Tat, that. Api, also. Dukam, suffering. Asadhya, by accepting the body as the self. Aham, suffering. No, api, also. Dukam, well, maybe I'm off track here, but suffering. Atadhya, by accepting the body as the self. Aham, I. Bhuman, O great one. Brahmami, am wandering within the cycle of birth and death. Vada, kindly instruct. Me, unto me. Tava, your. Dasya yogam, activities of service. Translation. O great one, O supreme Lord, because of combination of pleasing and displeasing circumstances, and because of separation from them, one is placed in a most regrettable position within the heavenly or hellish planets, as if burning in a fire of lamentation. Although there may be many remedies by which to get out of miserable life, any remedies in the material world are more miserable than the miseries themselves. Therefore, I think that the only remedy is to engage in your service. Kindly instruct me in such service. Also you say, O great one, O supreme Lord, because of the combination of pleasing and displeasing circumstances, and because of separation from them, one is placed in a most regrettable position within heavenly or hellish planets, as if burning in a fire of lamentation. Although there are many remedies by which to get out of miserable life. Any such remedies in the material world are more miserable than the miseries themselves. Therefore, I think that the only remedy is to engage in your service. Kindly instruct me in such service. Hey, Govardhan, can you turn this up a tad, just because my voice is so messed up. Purport. Prahlad Maharaj aspired to engage in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord. After the death of his father, who was materially very opulent, Prahlad would have inherited his father's property, which extended throughout the world, actually through the cosmos is what Prabhupada's meaning. But Prahlad Maharaj was not inclined to accept such material opulence, for whether one is in the heavenly or hellish planets, or is a rich or poor man's son, material conditions are everywhere. Therefore, no material life is at all pleasing. If one wants the uncontaminated pleasure of blissful life, one must engage himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Material opulence may be somewhat pleasing for the time being, but to come to that temporary pleasing condition, one must work extremely hard. When a poor man is rich, he may be better situated, but to come to that position, he had to accept many miseries. Prabhupada points out in the tape, there was there's big industry, like we have our Rockefellers or DuPonts or Fords. They have their Birlas, their Tatas, their Dalmias. And one of them has started off as a poor man and made their money by going to where people were camping out, living on the side of the road and finding half-burnt pieces of firewood and selling them. Another started his business. The British offered a reward for dead rats, and he would bring in dead rats and just saved and built and struggled and worked. So it's not so easy. Otherwise, everyone would be a millionaire. Where was I? But if one actually wants happy, blissful life, one must come to Krishna consciousness and constantly engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. That is the real remedy. The entire world is under the illusion that people will be happy by advancing in materialistic measures to counteract the miseries of conditional life. But this attempt will never be successful. Humanity must be trained to engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. That is the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement. There can be no happiness in changing one's material conditions, for everywhere there is trouble and misery. Om Gena Tamarandasya Gyana Gena Salakaya Jagshushun Militan Gena Tazare Shri Gurave Namaha. So, this last sentence is profound. If we understood this, we'd be Krishna conscious. There can be no happiness in the changing one's material conditions, for everywhere there is trouble and misery. And yet, we're always thinking, everyone's thinking, different spot, win the lottery, get married, get divorced. We were at a wedding yesterday, and Prabhupada tells a joke about weddings, marriage. Other than Dravida, does anyone know why being married is like being in a fortress? Why marriage? Why is marriage like a fortress? Yes. Exactly so. Half the people are trying to get in, half the people are trying to get out. I was standing next to his Dharnidhar, Prabhu, our Dharnidhar, and I mentioned his name because I want him to get credit for this. He's a very good householder, very responsible, excellent father, excellent grandfather, But what is his observation? I was standing next to him at a wedding, and brum, the drums are going for the Bharat, and the man's coming in on a horse, all nicely silked out, and a big turban, looking like a king. Dharnidhar Prabhu turned to me and said, "King for the day, slave for the rest of his life." You know? And you know the one who appreciates these jokes the most? Not the brahmacharis, the householders, because they know it's true. So, but it's not just household life. It's like it says, samyoga and viyoga. What is the other word? Samyoga and just viyoga, isn't it? Yeah. So these circumstances are always changing. What is the law of this material world given by Krishna? I mean, it's temperate and full of miseries, okay. But I'm talking about the very nature of the way material energy acts. Because there's so many things you could say. But it's constantly mutable, which means it's shifting. It's always malleable and shifting. The materialists say the basic premise of this world is entropy. Entropy means that friction, things are always rubbing against each other and wearing out. That's the nature of the thing, which is a real challenge to Darwin. Things do not evolve from simple to complex. Rather, what is the trajectory of forms and things in this world? They evolve from complex to simple. Things break down, things devolve by the law of empathy. So this idea that you took a simple prebiotic soup, zapped it with lightning, and it evolved into, and all of a sudden we've got zebras and human beings, and no. You leave the Empire State Building, you leave, let's go the right way. Take a little cabin, will it evolve over the course of time into the Empire State Building? Huh? What do you think? Just give it enough time. And he said, what? It's ridiculous. If you leave the Empire State Building alone, and it won't take that long, 200 years, what will you have? Will you have a whole city of Empire State Buildings? What will you have? You'll have a pile of bricks. So, and yet, they drink the Kool-Aid. They think, oh, well. And there's a reason, but that's another story. But the point I wanted to make is that things are always shifting in this world. But the nature of the self, Krishna describes in the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, is that we are by nature, the self, the jiva, the atma, is stanu, which means stable, steady. So, and that projects out into how we want to experience the world. We don't like constant shift and everything falling apart, and you always got to push matter this way and that way. We want a stable, steady state. So if our nature is that we are stable and steady, and we like a stable and steady state, and yet the very essence of the material nature is to shift and change, what does that mean? It means it's a very frustrating place. It's not a happy place. And what is happiness in this world? It means that there's loss, and Prabhupada says it's too hot, so you get an air conditioner. It's too cold, so you get a heater, you put on a sweater. There's a scratch, there's an itch. That's all it is in this world. My stomach's empty, I fill it. It's just check, checkmate, check, checkmate. Stimulus, response, stimulus, response. That's all it is. And it's a constant tension. There's a constant, it's baked in, as they say. There's a constant, ever-present angst, anxiety. There's either dissatisfaction that I don't have it, or there's worry that I'm going to lose it. It's one or the other. You know, I want to get older, I want to get older, I want to get older. Then all of a sudden you look in the mirror, whoa, I want to get younger, I want to get younger, I want to get younger. It's just, when were you satisfied? So, there's nothing you can do about it. That's where we are in this constant push me, pull you tension of trying to become happy in this world that's always shifting. We're always trying to counter. And we're always at anxiety. You can't not be. So what to do? Let's see. Another thing is, well, so the point is the only thing that's steady state is our consciousness. We cannot change the way the material nature works. Even here we're reading about Hiranyakasipu. He was so powerful. But even he could not become deathless. You can't do it. What was it? The street name, Balaramana? The silent tide. The silent tide of time. I think it was King John who finally surrendered and wrote the Magna Carta, surrendered some power to his nobles in England. But, you know, whether it's just a story or fact, who knows? But the story is good. He was being praised, and, you know, you're the king, you're this, you're that, you're the light, you're the sun, the moon. And so, no, he went down to the ocean, and the tide was coming in. And I think it's in France, St. Michel's, the tide comes in for hundreds of miles or so. It's quite an epic thing. So the tide was coming in, and he's there in his silk slippers with his gold buckles, and tells the ocean, "Stay in back." How did that work out? What do you think? His silk slippers with their gold buckles got completely moistened. You can't stop the ocean. So the silent tide of time and this constantly shifting material nature, it's just inevitable. It's unstoppable, unsurmountable. Indefatigable is the word Prabhupada. It's a great word, isn't it? Cannot be defeated. Indefatigable. So do we just become stoic? There was a group of Greek philosophers, the Stoicism, stoic like a tree, just grit your teeth and bear it. Do we become like the existentialists, the nihilists, that, well, what's the use? I might as well just kill myself now. Why just suffer another 20 years? Just pull the plug now and get it all over with. Is that the way to go? You're all just sitting there. What do you think? But here it's describing that the service of Krishna and Krishna, the material nature, you have to work hard, and the odds are stacked against you. But Krishna says, Patram pushpam palam toyam. You offer me a leaf, a flower, a fruit. I accept it if it's offered with love. Prabhupada says, who can't get a fruit, a flower, a leaf? Of course, we know the leaf is tulsi leaf. That's another. But, you know, who can't put his seed and grow a tulsi leaf? In Chicago, we had no money. It was freezing cold. I remember the address of the temple, and it's another story. It was on Hayward was the name of the street. And we couldn't get flowers. We had no money. So Bahulasva was the temple president, and he wrote to Prabhupada, and he said, can we offer pine, a little bit of a pine branch you can break, because there's so many evergreen pine, and it has a nice smell. It has kind of a nice, pungent, fragrant smell. So we had no money, couldn't afford buying flowers, so we'd offer a little sprig off a pine tree, So it's not difficult to please Krishna if we offer it with love. Krishna will accept. I don't know whether it was here or class somewhere else, but I remember after my mother and father had passed away, these siblings, my brother and my sister and I, we were cleaning out the attic and the closets and everything. And we found all these little trinkets that we had made as children. A little ashtray made out of your handprint, or a little, Father's Day card, that, you couldn't even, is that a person, or is that, what is that, Little crayon, and all the other things that, later on when we had some means that we'd purchased for our parents, those had all gone by the wayside of time. But these little useless trinkets, that's what they kept. Because it was made with love by their little child who, labored hard trying to get the scissors to work, So we really worked it out, Figured out that green was good for the grass, not purple, it was a real effort there. And because it was with love that captured their heart. So it's not difficult. What do you give the man who has everything? So you give him love. So the point we're trying to make, Prahlad Maharaj is making here, and what time is it? The mood of service. But in Mayapur, we were. The class was on by Bhakti Vikas Maharaj. It was a great class, and he was talking, because he has that wonderful book he wrote about Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he was talking about, in those days, the Gandhi's movement of independence, and you had Subhash Chandra Bose, who organized the Indian National Army. Gandhi did not get the British out of India. The Brits were playing him like a bongo. When they'd lock him up, then people would concentrate on that. When things got too heavy, they'd let him out. They used him like a pressure valve. You read in the British military archives, which were released 50 years afterwards, they weren't worried about Gandhi at all. It was Subhash Chandra Bose who got the British soldiers to surrender to the Japanese and started marching through Burma and were bombing Calcutta. And the British said, no. You stay with us, you fight with us, and we'll give you independence after you get us out of World War II. Because India was supplying all the raw materials and most of the soldiers. Anyway, so many things. But the point I wanted to make was that, Subhash Chandra Bose met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and said to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, why are you teaching this slave mentality? We are meant for independence. Sounds much more romantic, doesn't it? Because Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur very cleverly said, you don't want to bother us. We're weak and skinny from vegetarian diet. We're just good for ringing bells in the temple. Don't bother with us. And he wanted to just leave the brahmacharis alone and move on, It's like when he had the road, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur invited the governor, the British governor of Bengal, second most powerful position under the viceroy in India, invited him out to Mayapur for Gaur Purnima and got so much criticism. You're inviting this meat eater, You know, you don't understand Brahminical principles. You're spoiling the holy Dham. He just ignored them. To get the governor out there, what did they have to do? There was only an ox trail, you know, a bullock trail from Calcutta to Mayapur. So to get his, I don't know, Austin Roadster or whatever it was, to get it out there, get his motor car, the army built a nice road. And afterwards, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, the governor was scratch. I just wanted the road. It's very so people could come to Mayapur and have darshan, you know. So in the same way, he said, we're just good for eating rice and ringing bells. Don't bother with us, you know. So, but his official answer was that you're talking about slave mentality. But the real thing is that everyone is a slave. That it's not slavery, it's service. And who are you serving? You're serving your tongue, you're serving your genitals, you're serving your belly, you're serving your, you know, whatever. Everybody's serving somebody. So what about and what the service to Krishna, this was his statement, which I really liked, and I'm paraphrasing, but I'm close. His reply was, service to Krishna is actual dignity of the human nature. It's because slavery, they think, oh, you know, you've become a lesser, you know, you become inferior and, you know, low. You know, to be a slave is a horrible condition. So they would project that. But he would say it's not slavery, it's service out of love. And that service out of love is the real manifestation of the dignity of the living entity. And you think about it, okay, dogs run free, so why can't we? Just, you know, I don't follow any moral codes. That's the evolution of the thing. You get San Francisco, which has just become, it's just horrible. It's full of dirt and crime and grime. And it used to be one of the most beautiful cities in the world. And, you know, starting with the hippies and whatever it was, just progressed, you know the history, through the gay thing and the drug thing and the, you know, and it's just become a seething pit. So what happens if you're so-called free? I don't have to follow moral codes. If I get pregnant, I'll just kill the baby in the womb. What happens? Where does that projection go? And we see that the dignity of the living entity, the nobility, charity, service, sacrifice, all right out the window. You just have self-centered, miserable, small-minded people, full of anxiety and fear. They have done, whoa, we're going to push on a little further. They have done studies of what actually makes people happy. I mean, they do all kinds of studies, especially in businesses. They want to, you know, you squeeze out every last drop. And they want to figure out, you know, we're work units. You got consumer units and you got work units. And the work units produce as much stuff, you know, they're selling at Walmart, that they can jam, and then they take the consumer unit and jack up the consumer unit with all kind of lust, and they squeeze every drop out of the consumer unit, I mean the work unit, and you've got the 1% that's laughing on top of the hill. While the other people are just getting squeezed. So, I mean, they study it. They study what type of music to play in the office. Yeah, oh, definitely. When you first get in the office, they plan, you know, to become peaceful and steady. People come back from lunch, they're jacking up the music. Because, you know, everything goes to your stomach to digest, and you get, no. They know it. Gopal Bhatta was telling me about it. Gopal Bhatta has over 2,000 employees, and he gets this kind of, you know, Harvard Business, weekly. It'll tell you monthly, whatever it is. How to squeeze every single possible way. Free coffee. Why? Are they charitable and just want to see you happy? What do you think? They want to squeeze every bit of energy out of you. So, and they got the best and the brightest. So, but what actually motivates people? Okay, up to a certain point, money. But once people have their basics down, this is proven around the world, universal in cultures, once they've got enough money to just take care of the basics, you know, put money aside for the kid, pay for their health care, you know, whatever, pay off their mortgage, it has a decreasing, you know, and perks. Well, you get the key to the executive bathroom. You can, you know, what they have the summer, you know, retreat, and all the top guys get to go to. Where do they go? They go to that. What is the Aspen, and then there's the other one in the Grand Tetons. I forget the name of that one. Yeah, and they all get together and figure out how to squeeze out. There's maybe a few drops left in those work units. So, Davos in Switzerland, that's where they all go. So the, well, okay, that there was, so what makes them happy is, and this is the fact, that they have a sense that they're part of something bigger than themselves. They're not just taking care of their own little self. Okay, I got a Mercedes, I got, you know, whatever it is, the gold Amex card. That's not what actually makes people really, but they feel like my life means something. I'm doing something bigger than myself. So making a difference, that my life makes a difference. I made a difference in the world. Now think about devotees, think about Krishna consciousness. That we're making it different. Every day we go out on book distribution, or people come and see the beautiful deities. They take prasadam. We meet people. I met somebody the other day. Remember, he'd seen us at a rock festival in Detroit. And he said, 45 years ago. And he said, you gave me, it was a little round ball. And it was brown, and it was like fudge, but it wasn't. It tasted like peanut butter, but it wasn't. And you could see the guy, his mouth was watering, remember. And he was talking about a laddu. You know, a nice laddu, butter and powdered sugar, you know, the ones made the right way. Man, there's nothing like it. I've had people go on, you know, like Ode to Joy, singing about halava. I don't know what it was. It was like a bread or a pudding, but it wasn't, you know. So, you know. Anyway, and I won't mention her name. Well, I will mention her name because she's a very nice person. Tulsi Sojitra's wife, what is it? Madhu Sojitra, who was a fantastic cook. You know, she's just an excellent cook. You could give her a potato and boiling water and a few spices, and she'll turn it into something amazing. So her husband loves halava. So she asked me one time, how do you guys make halava? I said, you know, just take the suji or the farina, and, you know, the butter and water, and here's the, sure. She went home. She's a fantastic cook. Her husband said, it just doesn't hit it. It's not the same. So she called me back. She said, you left something out. True story. She's a very nice lady. You left something. I said, no, Mataji, here's the recipe. I know how to cook halava. I'm not, you know, I may be a trained chimp, but enough bananas I can make you some halava. So I said, oh, wait a minute. I said, did you offer it to Krishna? She said, no. I said, well, there it is. Forgot to offer it to Krishna. The Bhakti, you know, Prabhupada says the saliva of Krishna. I mean, it's that which is the lowest in the material world is the highest in the spiritual world. When it's tasted by Krishna, it tastes completely different. So the simple point I wanted to make was that and I'll read, and we'll close here, the sentence that Prabhupada ends his purport with, There can be no happiness in changing one's material conditions, for everywhere there is trouble and misery. So you can be a slave of the senses, or you can have the service attitude, the dignity of the self, true dignity of the self serving Krishna, which that we're part of something greater than ourselves. We're changing the world. It's actually happening. And we know that we're part of something bigger than ourselves. It's real happiness. And it's easy. It's not a hard patram pushpam palam toyam. So we can end there. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Because I think we should skip questions. It's late. Thanks, Bruce.